breaking news tonight on the National Enquirer and the billionaire owner of Amazon and the Washington Post, Jeff Bezos. Tonight, Bezos published a personal account accusing the National Enquirer of blackmail, of extortion. This comes after Bezos announced he was divorcing his wife last month. The National Enquirer published a story on that same day alleging that Bezos had an affair and published personal text and images of Bezos and the woman involved. Shortly afterwards, Bezos launched an investigation into how those texts and photos were leaked to AMI. In a blog post tonight on Medium, Bezos includes that he says is an email exchange with lawyers for AMI, the parent company of the National Enquirer. Bezos claims that in those emails, the National Enquirer threatened to release more damaging images unless Bezos ended his investigation of them. NBC News has reached out to both AMI and Amazon, but they have not responded. Additionally, NBC has not seen copies of the letters themselves. Back with me now is Ben Wittes, and joining me now is Aswan Subsang, White House reporter for the Daily Beast, of course, and Dylan Byers, NBC News' own senior media reporter. He joins by phone. Dylan, just start with the beginning and tell us what this is about.
Sure. Well, it's quite extraordinary, Chris. What you have here is you have the wealthiest man in the world accusing the country's most notorious tabloid of both blackmail and extortion, and those are his words. And rather than being what he says is held hostage to that kind of debased journalism, he's instead going out and trying to expose the National Enquirer, expose its chairman, David Pecker, for what they're trying to do to him, and effectively saying, come at me with everything you got, I will expose you. He is also, by the way, Chris, we should note, implying at the very least that part of the motivation for the National Enquirer in going after Jeff Bezos had to do with the Washington Post, his ownership of the Washington Post and the Washington Post coverage of both Trump and its unwillingness to give up the attention that's being paid to the murder of Jamal Khashoggi. So he's implying a political motive there in terms of who it was that wanted to go after him, who it was that wanted to expose the extramarital affair he was having that ultimately resulted in the end of his 25-year marriage.
Let's talk about the MO here, Aspen. It seems to me, if you believe all this from the point of view of Jeff Bezos, that he's being extorted, blackmailed, and they're doing it because he's been an honest publisher of a newspaper. They've been giving honest coverage of what's been going on with AMI and the National Enquirer, and of course this president. But also, they seem to have retaliated against him for investigating how the leak occurred of those pictures which were embarrassing to him.
Correct. And we were
There's so many lines of this war.
Right, absolutely. And it actually gets way more convoluted than that. We were the first to report at thedailybeast.com last week that Jeff Bezos has personally funded and launched an investigation into how these text messages ended up in the National Enquirer, which is effectively a pro-Trump organization. They acted as basically a media enforcer arm of the Trump campaign during the 2016 election, and they
used a really smart security guy too, Gavin DeBecker.
Yes,
I've been reading that guy for years. He's good.
He's also been for a while Jeff Bezos' personal security guy. So he tasked Gavin DeBecker with figuring out how this got into the National Enquirer. And they narrowed it down to a short list of suspects that ended up being basically only Michael Sanchez, who is the brother of Lauren Sanchez, who is Jeff Bezos' mistress. And Michael Sanchez just so happens to be an associate, both personally and professionally, of certain peripheral Trump world figures such as Roger Stone and Carter Page.
So what would be the motive here of getting that material, that embarrassing material about Bezos and his affair, alleged affair, to the National Enquirer? Who would want to get the dirt in the press?
Well, theories that have been kicked around by Gavin DeBecker and his team, Jeff Bezos' investigators, is that there was a possible political motivation to this. I'm not sure if they know exactly what it is yet, but
I mean, it's a war they were willing to launch against the mainstream press, basically.
Specifically, the Washington Post and Jeff Bezos. Again, these are just theories. I don't know if anything's conclusive yet, but certainly people that Michael Sanchez, who is the suspected leaker on this, and people he's associated with are very friendly.
What was his motive of leaking? I don't know how he got these so-called these texts or pictures, whatever.
Well, he just happens to be the brother of Jeff Bezos' mistress. So that is one possible.
Why would that be a motive for releasing the release itself?
Again, via my reporting, it's not 100% clear yet. All that we know is that Bezos' people suspect that he is the prime suspect and that he is very publicly a very pro-Trump person and has a relationship with the National Enquirer.
Well, it looks like a limited TV series. Go ahead. It looks like a limited TV series right here, Dylan Byers. And, the good guys, obviously, the one who released the information, because we in the world like to know what happens. We want to know what people are up to. And Bezos has made the smart move of putting out at least his account of the truth. Your thoughts, Dylan?
Sure. I just want to say, look, and we should note at the top, we don't know exactly what the motive is. We don't know who was behind this. But looking at what Jeff Bezos just published online, it is clear that he thinks, that his team thinks, that there are two people or two parties that would want to go after him, would want to besmirch his reputation and that of the Washington Post. And Bezos clearly in that letter implicates both President Trump as well as what he describes as people who would be upset with the coverage of the murder of Jamal Khashoggi. To me, that reads as an indictment of Saudi Arabia or somebody who is trying to do a favor for Saudi Arabia. So I think it's actually quite clear in Bezos' letter who they believe is behind all this.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.